Dan and Corey here, welcoming you into Libservative.
The great fundamental issue now before our people. We, the people, cannot turn back.
Yeah, welcome in to another rousing rendition of Libservative, intellectual idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. He, as always, is Corey Walsh.
And he's Dan Griffin.
Nobel the
Bizarro Dan Griffin.
Yeah, you like my man. See, you like my you like my
see?
You like my cartoon villain mustache?
So
I figured like the whole world, the whole world's going bizarro. I might as well do it too.
I see the Trump election is treating you right.
It absolutely is. So bizarro.
I'm wearing
a
shirt.
Bizarro.
I'm wearing a shirt with a rodeo clown on it because that's a goddamn clown show.
Absolutely, I love it. I mean, Bizarro Dan Griffin is a staunch socialist who is completely into identity politics.
I was just gonna say whose ideology is based on complete identity politics.
Yeah, not me. Anyway, I don't know where to start this show.
I think you should keep it.
So much stuff has happened. My wife doesn't like it.
No, it's just a fancy mustache is just pompous.
Is this like?
It makes it exudes like intellectual liberalism, right? Like you're in a room trying to prove how smart you are that you don't realize how much of a pain in the ass you're being.
I am the smartest man in every room I ever walk into. You should know that by now.
Not when I'm in the room. What the fuck? Like when I leave the room, sure.
We have had so much stuff go on this week. Corey, I'll set it up before you tell the people where they can find us. Big news about Matt Gaetz today, which is a little disappointing if you're rooting for the chaos, like some of us, I think, are. So big news on Matt Gaetz. We got the Pentagon failing its 7th straight audit. If you failed your 7th straight audit, Corey, by the way, you would be in prison. So we have that going for us. Is Biden attempting to leave Trump with World War III? I understand why people might think that, but I actually have a different take on that. We'll get into that. And the ICC issuing an arrest on Benjamin Netanyahu, or an arrest warrant on Benjamin Netanyahu. It's stupid. It's symbolic. It doesn't actually make a difference, but it is kind of a big deal because he's the first pro-Western leader to be accused of war crimes of this nature, and in a warrant issued for his arrest by the ICC. And what would actually make for a successful Trump second term as we look forward to these next 4 years? And Corey's got headlines, which are there's actually a little bit different take on this today. We're going to go over some of the proposals that passed and failed during the 2024 election. And what else do we have? Do we have anything else? We got a lot of other shit that I doubt we're going to get to. And Jon Stewart, he might actually be back, ladies and gentlemen. We might actually have good Jon Stewart back. All we needed was to get Trump back in office to get good Jon Stewart back. We have a video that we want to play from Jon from
we got a couple of TikToks for you.
Yeah.
So do you think TikTok's going to be banned
Corey,
now?
I don't know, but it might be a new segment where every week until Trump is actually in office, we just do a segment called like, "This is why people voted for Trump." That might be a fun new segment that we could do from now until inauguration.
And why they
day.
were also just as wrong as anyone who voted for Harris.
Why? I don't understand how anybody could vote for Donald Trump. I don't understand. Somebody help me understand. We're going to help you understand.
Oh, we got TikTok for that. So
we're going to help you understand. That's what this show is all about.
And then everyone who voted for Trump, short of his sycophants, it's like also like, dude, really? like you said, like some of the cabinet picks we're gonna get into. It's like, you surprised, really?
And meanwhile, if you look on X, it seems like the only thing that a certain faction of Republican Congress people are worried about is the fact that they're going to have to share a bathroom with somebody that is not the same biological sex as them, which I understand being concerned about that. The American people shouldn't have to care. You know what I'm saying? Like I get it, but I don't give a shit who you have to share a bathroom with, to be perfectly honest. Why don't you tell the people?
Right, and I don't either. Well, yeah, I'm not telling you why I don't care either after this. Let's Start a Podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com. We can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, Instagram and Twitter at LibservativePod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Why do I always feel the inclination to like talk really nasally when I'm reading this? Like, Libservative Podcast is found on all social media podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com.
Like an old school, like a 1930s, like a 1930s radio guy.
Right, like I immediately just want to start talking right through the nose and just get all nasally with it, and add like a little bit of a pizzang to it, a little pizzazz.
Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski had an interesting week, didn't they? You like how they just bent the knee and just went to Mar-a-Lago after spending the last 4 years calling him a fascist.
Yeah, but before we get into that, I want to mention how
I just wanted to mention it. That's all I wanted to do.
How the whole bathroom thing is just kind of fucking stupid and annoying. Unless, of course, kids are involved, then it's like I understand. Like if you got a little kid going to the bathroom, then like you have to go in with them, because whenever there's a new rule, there's always a loophole, and people might try to use that loophole to do some fucking wonky shit, even though they could. There's nothing stopping them from doing that now, or the law. Anyways, sorry, going off on a tangent. This is why I don't give a shit. Okay, in the men's room, there's urinals and there's stalls. Men use the stall when they shit, or some that might be like a Matt Gaetz, they probably sit down when they pee. And then in the women's room, it's only stalls, which a stall is a little like cubicle where like Noah can see what you're doing in there, and you sit down to pee. If a woman who has transitioned to a man goes to the men's room, they're gonna use the fucking stall.
It's taking a shit.
All the guys,
you don't know
they'd be like, oh, they're taking a shit.
If you don't know they transitioned, like you just be like, wow, that guy takes a lot of shits.
Right. Or everyone's like, oh wow, he sits down when he pees.
One star, Libservative. Too much toilet humor.
But like that's exactly it. Because like right now, even like it could fucking be, we don't fucking know. It could be a trans person in our men's rooms right now using it. But when you go, like, whether you're on a fucking rest stop on the side of the highway in the middle of nowhere, running into a fast food restaurant, a bar, like all of these different restrooms, someone's in the stall, you just immediately assume, oh, they're taking a shit.
Well,
and then you piss and
Corey,
you wash
isn't
your
that
hands
kind of
and
the
you
whole
leave.
point? Isn't that kind of the whole point to where, like, if a trans person is passing, you know, I actually don't think she minds being used as an example in this stuff, but like somebody like a Blair White, you would never know. You would never know she was trans if you didn't know who she was. And she walks into a women's restroom, nobody is saying a word. It's so like if you're actually putting in the time, you actually have legitimate gender dysphoria and you're actually focused on transitioning and you're passing.
Yeah.
Nobody's even going to know. Like nobody's going to know and nobody's going to care. It's the ones that aren't passing because that's not
walk
really what
in
they're
there.
focused on.
It would probably make women uncomfortable. That doesn't make them transphobes.
A woman with a full beard, you know, you might start asking a few questions.
I'll tell you what, I walked into the men's room before at a bar, not knowing the premise that the women's room was out of order, so they were like letting women go in, then men go in. I didn't know that, and I walked in, and there was a bunch of women in the restroom, and I was like, I walked in, and there was a bunch of women in there, and I was like, you guys aren't supposed to be in here. And then all of a sudden, so I go and I start pissing anyways because I'm wasted and I really had to fucking go, thinking I'm in the right. Little did I know that they made it into a girl's restroom for about 5 minutes. And all of a sudden, this bouncer comes and taps me on the shoulder. And I'm pissing. And he goes, when you're done, you're out of here. I was like, the fuck? What do you mean? I'm like, I didn't bring these girls in here with me. Like, I thought that's why he was mad. Like, I brought a bunch of girls in the men's restroom with me. And I was like, I don't fucking know them. And then they fucking, I leave and he's like, you're out of here. I was like, whoa, hold on. I'm like, dude, I for real didn't know, you know. And then there's this whole line. And I look and then there is a whole fucking line wrapped around the bar for the restroom. I just came from outside smoking a cigarette and just strolled right into the bathroom. And but then everyone in line like saw it, so they were like, no, he doesn't know, like let him like chill. And then, but yeah, I got kicked out. Anyways,
that's so funny. I had going to a concert at DTE, which is, well, no, I'm sorry, it's Pine Knob again now. We can call it Pine Knob again because it's actually Pine Knob again. It was a female artist. So let's just say that like 60 to 70% of the crowd was women. It's a popular female artist that I was there to see, and I wanted to see her. Going to the men's room. And anytime you go to these giant events, like the women's line is always backed up for obvious reasons. There's a little more to them taking a leak. They actually have to sit down and, you know, as to where we can just whip out our hogs and throw down. There is just like women just like popping in and out of the men's room because they didn't want to wait in the line. And it's like, how concerned are you really, ladies? Like, how concerned are you if you're just going to openly walk into this is a men's room. In fact, one of the security guards actually had to come in and be like, come on, ladies, you can't be in here. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You know, something does happen. Who's going to get in trouble?
Like society really, shy of what social media shows you, kind of has it figured out for the most part. You know what I mean? Like a girl comes to the restroom, men still know, unless like obviously if it's one man in there, then it could be uncomfortable because then that one man could be a fucking creep. But if it's a restroom of like 20 men in there and a girl walks in to use the stall, no one's gonna fucking hit on her because just a bunch of dicks out. You're in there to go to the restroom.
Yeah,
you know, like there has to be something wrong with you to like that in the first place. Second place, no one's gonna say shit. You know what I mean? Like,
this seems like the time and place to get a date. Like, this is absolutely asinine.
Toilet paper on your foot. Yeah, we're off on a real tangent here.
Little bit of a tangent there. What did you learn this week, Corey?
I learned about one of the most metal birds around, and it's not the American bald eagle either. You ever heard of a loggerhead shrike?
No, this sounds like a Bell things learned. I can't wait to hear this.
So it's this bird that it hunts similar to like a falcon or a hawk or something, right? Like it dives down on its prey and it catches in its mouth and stuff. The problem is it doesn't have necessarily the talons or the beak to hold the thing down. Or it doesn't have the talons, so it can't like hold the food down while it eats it. So this bird figured out a way to circumvent that, and it catches like geckos and little birds and mice and shit and holds onto it with its beak and then flies to like a buckthorn tree. You know how those trees have like those long like spikes on them?
Mm-hmm.
It literally just grabs something and then runs it over to this tree or like a barbed wire fence or like a nail sticking out of the wood or like anything sharp really, and then just fucking jams it down on it and impales it. And then the spike holds it down and then it just sits there and eats it. What I heard about
Jesus Christ.
Like, this is fucking like nature is fucking metal.
Nature, isn't that like a Facebook group, Nature's Metal?
Yeah, probably. But like, what the fuck? Like, that's wild. Like, imagine if like you would think like if you walked out of your fucking house and like you had a buckthorn bush, right? And let's say, you know, and then all of a sudden there's just geckos just nailed to this tree, you would think you pissed someone off.
Yeah. Somebody's coming after me.
Yeah, like, should I move? Like, God,
that's some fucking KKK shit right there. Is what that
right,
is. It's like a warning sign.
Yeah, for real. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. So when I saw that, I was like, Jesus Christ! Like,
you went. I can't wait to subject our listeners to this.
Yeah,
that's what you
thought.
And
it was actually my things learned for last week. We just didn't do a things learned.
I learned that the entire world. Actually, I shouldn't say that. This is what I actually learned. What I learned is
round.
Dude, Vince McMahon, even given all of his issues that he's going through right now, and maybe he is
sexually assaulting women.
Yeah, maybe he is actually an incredible piece of shit. Allegedly, might be the greatest genius the world has ever known. And here's why I say that. The entire world is becoming kayfabe. The entire world is becoming WWE. And what was the precipice for me realizing this? The Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight last Friday. That was the thing that made me go.
It wasn't Vince McMahon's wife being put in charge of the Department of Education.
No, well, that's what's so funny.
Dude, it's funny, right? It's like, I wanted the Department of Education to be dismantled, but not like this. What the fuck, guys?
No, dude, that's what's great. Linda McMahon is going to turn all of education into fucking kayfabe. It's all going to be WWE shit.
It's fucking sad, right? And this is why it's sad. It's sad because it's the department isn't going to get better. It's going to get worse. Mm-hmm. But it's still going to get the same significant amount of funding that it ever did before, and it's just going to continue to get worse. Education in America used to be the gold standard. And it's like, I understand there being like some sort of Department of Education where like it makes sure each state holds up like its standard of like how
it's just
like,
bullshit.
Make sure they fucking and know how to do like basic math in the very least, you know, like the basics. I like, honestly, personally, I think like things like finances, like smaller classrooms, like there's a million other things, but like the basic outcome of the vast majority of these children coming out and just being literate and being able to do basic arithmetic. And like, that's it really. And then teach them critical thinking, you know, all those other things are like bonuses that you hope for, but teach them how to think, not what to think. Right. And
the Department of Education isn't even that old.
It's well, that's what I'm getting to is our education system used to be like the gold standard, like in the world, like in the 50s and 60s and early 70s. And then the Department of Education was created in 1979. And since a federal bureaucratic department has been created, our education has only gotten worse and worse and worse.
What's funny about that fact is that you have folks on the left and like,
because what it does is it restricts teachers from being teachers.
If the Trump administration was actually going to come out and be like, yeah, we're abolishing the Department of Education, which I don't think the executive branch can actually do. But if it was like something that was like top of mind that they actually like wanted to do, I'd kind of be all for it. But you have a situation where, as you said, that's not going to be the thing that takes place. Hopefully it gets less funding as we move forward, which maybe it will with Linda McMahon.
But see, with it being less funding, because now the way the school system is set up, it being less funding still affects the schools and the education of the children. And that's what makes it sad. Like, they're going to make it more dysfunctional. They're going to make it have less funding possibly. And there's not going to be a better outcome. Like, you need to, like, ideally, in my idealistic world, is you just cut the funding and you say all of this money that you were paying that went to this percent of the budget that calculates to this percentage of your income tax that was going to the federal government is now going directly to your state, and each state has to create its own personal school budgeting thing.
A lot like abortion, right? Send education back to the states. Where it should be, and let states.
Honestly, the government shouldn't have any sort of decision on what someone does to their personal body, whether it's vaccines or abortions, or like when you're an adult and you have consent, like if you do want to get trans surgery, the government shouldn't have a say. If you want to, dye your hair, get a tattoo, get a piercing, get plastic surgery, the government shouldn't have a say in anything you do to your own personal body.
Provided you're an adult.
Yeah. Leave the kids alone.
So if you say, so all you have to do is send education back to the states, which I think you also agree that abortion laws, at least going back to the states, is better than federal.
Well, it's the only branch of government in our lifetimes that gave up some of their power and didn't increase it. The judicial
states?
The judicial system, the Supreme Court, one of the three branches, said we are not going to be the ones that are the arbitrator of this law, and they gave it up and sent it back to Congress, basically.
Well, and that's
when they overturned Roe v. Wade.
Corey, that's the whole thing that made Roe v. Wade a flimsy law in the first place.
Is that the judicial system could just say nah.
Right. That's
and the
not
Democrats,
their job.
And I'm pro-choice, like I said, because
their job is to interpret and uphold the Constitution.
Yeah, the government itself should not be the one that mandates anything that you do to your body personally. And I'll say it again, whether it's a vaccine, whether it's like an abortion or tattoos, anything, the government should not be the one to mandate it, because there are too many intricate and
but
individual
Corey,
scenarios.
I'll push back a little bit, even though I am a pro-choice person. I'll push back on you a little bit in saying that, like, there is some nuance there with regards to when does abortion become murder, right? So, like,
right. Personally, like, it's almost like back to like the quickening that it was originally intended in the Constitution under Section 9 or Amendment 9. The quickening was like basically like 12 to 15 weeks. Like when you can feel the baby kick, that's something that's alive.
Understood, but there's a reason that it's an argument.
It's saved, right? Yeah. No, I get it.
There's a legitimate argument that can be made.
But all of these things, right? Like all of these things, like I understand the idea that people truly believe that's life. Like that's you know what I mean? Like, and if you truly believe that's life, then somebody killing that to you is murder. That's still a valid feeling. The liberals of anybody should understand, your feelings are valid, right?
No, they don't.
And so, like, it's a valid feeling, and so I take that into account.
Corey, your feelings are valid. Your feelings are valid as long as you are of the right marginalized group.
No, it's right. Sure. That's the way it is with moral superiority in our binary fucking political system. But those feelings are valid, just like the feelings of someone who thinks that, like, holy shit, I'm 16 years old. Oh my God. Like, I can't afford this. I'll get kicked out of my house. This will ruin my fucking life. I'm supposed to be going to college and stuff like that. And they do it right away. I think those feelings are valid too.
Well, isn't that what's sort of interesting? The fact that you have so many of these.
So because I think that both of these feelings, like everyone's like emotions about it, are valid, and they both have points to be made. That makes every situation very, very intricate, and that's why it should be up to a person's own moral code of conduct, and they choose for themselves. And we don't need the fucking government to make this decision, because what you're ultimately doing is you're just expanding the government.
Dude.
And then under that precedent,
Corey, I am Bizarro Dan tonight because I'm defending the government a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you could also say that for a situation where I feel like I'm threatened, so I murdered somebody. Well, I went out, like, if I feel threatened by you, I go out and I murder you. It's the argument of that's why abortion is such a contentious issue.
Well, and so here's the thing too, right? Like, statistics back me up on this too. It's with Roe v. Wade in place for, what was it? Like, it was put in place like in the 70s. So like for damn near 50 years. And a majority of the abortions were like within the first like 3 to 6 weeks anyways, or 12, like a woman typically doesn't sometimes find out until like 6 weeks in. So like 8 or 9 weeks is when a majority of abortions happened anyways. And it was typically done with a pill, and it wasn't like scraped out.
How the fuck did we get on abortion talk again? How did that
know.
Happen?
Because it's a contentious topic, right? And I don't know. Yeah, no, I guess that's kind of sure we can get back to what we were talking about.
I will say this though, I do love how you have the liberal women's crowd that's like, we're withholding sex, and it's like, yeah, you're pretty much giving the anti-abortion crowd everything they want. All they ever wanted you to do was close your legs. So
yeah, like, that's they say like
exactly what they wanted.
Dad, what was she wearing? You know what I mean? Like that, yeah, that crowd is like, oh, thank you. Thank you. I want you to have the same boring sex that I do. I want it to be where just me and my wife make no awkward eye contact, and we just do missionary, and I just jackrabbit her for 30 seconds and then call it a day.
It's just a burner account with a picture of Andrew Tate as the profile picture.
Political Short said Trump 24. Well,
Top
okay.
G.
Political Shorts. Why did you just yell Top G?
Because I was talking about the guy who's making those tweets. That's just a burner account with a picture of Andrew Tate as the profile picture.
Yeah, because you could just tweet as him now, because you can make your name whatever you want, right?
That's absolutely
just
right.
Bullshit.
Oh, Corey.
But yeah.
What's up,
Political Shorts?
Is that? Where the fuck is that?
What are you looking for?
Matt Gaetz. What did you do? This is the top news of today as we record. I'm glad we waited till Thursday to do a show, because we wouldn't have had this last night had we done the show last night.
His run at AG lasted about as long as a head of cabbage on a fucking counter in the summertime.
Dude, so okay, hear me out. Matt Gaetz, and you tell me if I'm wrong. And I want whoever's listening, pull up a picture of these two people. Matt Gaetz kind of looks like if Jack Nicholson had a cocaine bender love child with Minnie Driver. Like, that's what Matt Gaetz looks like. He's got like the big jaw. Okay, he's got the Jack Nicholson hair. His eyes are a little close together.
Who is Matt Gaetz's equivalent in the Democratic Party?
Matt Gaetz's equivalent in the Democratic Party? Well, who?
Hey, Political Short said we don't support. Real quick, it's a good question.
We don't.
What do you think about that?
You guys don't support Donald Trump? We're double haters, which means we're probably not the show.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, no. We just might have got a new listener, and you immediately told him to leave. Fuck off, Dan.
We don't. I could be like Donald. We
kind of lean more libertarian than anything.
Yeah, we're losers.
The party. The libertarians haven't done shit.
You asked me what
we both said we would breathe easier though the next 4 years.
Yeah,
at a geopolitical level with Trump than Harris.
I'm more satisfied.
We just both voted third party.
I voted for nobody, but I'm more satisfied with his victory than I would have otherwise been with the alternative.
Not happy about it. Just
not happy, but happier, I guess you could say. You asked me what the Democratic Party equivalent is of Matt Gaetz. Man, I don't know that there is one. Because
would it be
Matt Gaetz,
wait. Who's the okay? What's his name?
Dude,
Eric Swalwell.
No,
Swalwell.
Eric Swalwell. I was gonna say
only because of the Botox. Because of the Botox.
Well, no. Well, I thought you meant like as in like a
policy and
Matt. Well, no. What I mean is like Matt Gaetz he's like universally hated, even by Republicans, like establishment Republicans, which is kind of one of the reasons why Trump.
It's because he tries to imitate Trump so much. Yeah, but he does heavily support Trump. He's in the camp.
Honestly,
when liberals act, you know what I mean? And it's almost like what came first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing, right? Because when the liberals and the Democrats are as vile as they are and viciously attack anyone who even wears a MAGA hat, they all circle their wagons and group up together. So like, it's like a one of us kind of thing. Look how quick easy they are to forgive Marco Rubio. You know what I mean? Like RFK is all of a sudden on their team. Tulsi Gabbard, like those two lean pretty fucking liberal, but because they don't attack Trump and they're willing to work with him, it's like, oh, one of us.
And trying to find their way into power. I'm not sitting here and pretending like I think that RFK and Tulsi Gabbard, I'm not optimistic about what they're going to be able to accomplish, but I'm fucking interested. And I will be the first to get on this show and admit to you that my cynicism was unwarranted if something actually comes out of this. But you asked me what the Democratic equivalent was.
I volunteered for her
Matt
campaign
Gaetz.
in 2020.
You are not going to let me answer this question, are you? Every time I go to answer this question, I would say that the Democratic equivalent to Matt Gaetz, honestly, is Bernie Sanders. Universally disliked by his own party, for the most part. Kind of falls in line when it makes sense. I would say it's Bernie Sanders.
You don't think of Joe Manchin? Like, if you were going to go on that route, I would say more Joe Manchin than Bernie Sanders. Because remember, Bernie Sanders is technically independent.
Yeah, but that's
he
true.
He just caucuses with the Democratic Party.
But Bernie Sanders...
And he is willing to go against the grain without someone else making the call for him. Matt Gaetz is just hanging onto someone's coattails and just does what he says.
I guess maybe there isn't one.
So it wouldn't even be a Manchin.
No, because Joe Manchin is just basically a slightly left-leaning centrist. That's pretty much all he is. He's he's really milquetoast.
He's
That's
retiring,
all he really is.
Isn't he retiring?
I don't remember. I don't care. I can't keep up with what the goings on in Joe Manchin's life are.
I just remember him and Kristen Sinema being painted with the same brush for a while there.
Yeah,
on the Inflation Reduction Act.
As far as
they were the only two senators that they needed, and everyone was like, "I can't believe these fuckers." Like,
what did Matt Gaetz do, Corey?
Well, so he had that legal case against him, right? And I can't remember the outcome of the legal case, but him still walking free, I'm assuming it went in his favor. But then he was also being internally investigated by some of the countless committees. I don't even know which one it was.
The House Ethics Committee.
Yeah, they were investigating him based on like claims of either like sexual assault or like sex with a minor or some shit like that, right? And then he was about to say peace and bail on them, which would have ended that investigation anyways, because it's not a legal investigation. It's just an investigation, like basically getting a PI, right? And then he's like, I'm running for it. He's like, I'm going to go beat Trump's AG. Fuck all y'all. Y'all suck anyways. And then I don't know what happened since then, but now he's like, nah, never mind.
That's to me what is very interesting. That kind of leads
all
me
of a
to
sudden,
believe.
for him to like be for it and then turn it down. It kind of makes you lead to believe that someone behind the closed door walked up to him and went, "Hey, dude, you need to fucking drop out."
So it's interesting that he resigned his seat.
Like mafia or something.
Yeah. It's interesting that he resigned his seat before the confirmation even started.
Right.
Only to remove his name from AG a week later. It leads me to believe that the House Ethics Committee found something, whether or not it was something that could be brought up in a legal case, because obviously not, because he's basically been cleared of those charges. However, he dipped out. He went to become Trump's AG. He then realized he wasn't going to be confirmed and didn't bother to stick around for it. It kind of seemed to me like a ploy for him to get away from these charges by the House Ethics Committee. And it's interesting to find out that the ethics committee voted along party lines to release the findings, where Republicans said no, Democrats said yes. But then when you ask Democrats in the House, a lot of Democrats were against releasing the findings of the House Ethics Committee against Matt Gaetz. And I think there's a really obvious reason for why that is.
That sets a precedent.
Well, there's that, but also they're all doing shit. Every single goddamn one of them has skeletons in their closet. Republicans, Democrats, it doesn't matter. And yes, to your point, Corey, it sets a precedent. If you are going to release,
if you're an elite,
if you are going to release the results of a sexual assault claim from the House Ethics Committee against Matt Gaetz, you have to do it against everybody. In fact, Marjorie Taylor Greene, our favorite low-key baddie, threw out
your favorite low-key baddie.
She's a butterface. Threw out a tweet earlier today saying, if we're going to do this, we need to release everything. And it's like, I'm going to quote Hannah Cox's video from earlier today. Ma'am, your terms are acceptable. Like, absolutely. Release everything. Release everyone's fucking skeletons in all of their closets on both sides of the aisle.
We would have what's his name? Like Olsen Schultz or Olaf Schultz. We'd have an Olaf Schultz government collapse on our hands, Dan.
Yeah. Well,
it would leave like Bernie Sanders and Rand Paul standing. Okay, you know what? Your terms are acceptable.
And that's assuming like Rand Paul didn't like finger bang a girl in college who wasn't maybe sure what she wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just they all have skeletons, I think. Even Bernie Sanders. Finger banging wasn't a thing when he was a young man because he's like 78 million years old.
I'm sure they were finger banging then.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think they were careful about it?
I don't know. I could ask my dad.
You think they wash their hands after? Because I never wash my hands after. I want that smell.
I want that stink.
It helps me sleep.
How long did you finger bang her? Listen, till the room stank. Jesus Christ.
The guy, I will say this about Matt Gaetz. The guy definitely seems like someone who likes yacht parties and copious amounts of cocaine. Like, I mean, you can tell that by looking at him.
Like, I'm Botox or is it cocaine? That's a fun game to play.
I'm sure he was in some places where he shouldn't have been. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really care. I'm honestly kind of bummed he's not going to be AG. Because even though I don't like the guy, as I said, if Trump's going to get elected, for God's sake, bring on the chaos.
Well, hopefully this brings in someone better.
I have no idea who he's going to tap for AG.
Hopefully it's someone just off the wall.
Chris asked us this a little bit earlier in the comments. Who do you think will be the next AG pick? I have no fucking clue. Honestly, I have no idea.
Yeah, at this point, it's pretty wild. Like, Vince McMahon's wife is in charge of Department of Education.
You know what's so funny about that, though?
The fact the ambassador to Israel?
The fact that Sarah Huckabee Sanders. The funniest thing about Linda McMahon being tapped as the head of the Department of Education is, like, I look at that and I go, it's fucking better than Betsy DeVos.
That's true.
It's just like, just a bunch of rich people. Who cares? A bunch of Trump's rich friends. Like, how can it be worse?
Yeah. Like, I don't know how to fix the school system, but school of choice isn't necessarily, like, I understand the concept and I'm kind of for it. You know, it's like I would like to pick a place that my kid can go to a good school, but based on how schools are funded, like school of choice. Like, fuck schools, because schools succeed based on their proximity. It's kind of wonky, right? Like, it's kind of shitty. It's all based on proximity,
sure,
because you're going to bring your kids to the nice neighborhoods where the house values are higher, so the school gets more funding, and then in turn because that school is now bringing in more students, they're getting more and more and more money from the federal government, and the schools in areas that like are less wealthy are just suffering for it. And it's just kind of shitty.
But what it does is it kind of adds a sort of libertarian free market to
I like
education.
the free market idea, but don't make it based on proximity. Then you should like somebody like now schools. I think like it's bloated and overfunded, but a school could like, because it's also the basic law of supply and demand, right? A whole neighborhood in a lower income area is heavily demanding a school, and I feel like you could run a successful school on a lower budget if it wasn't constrained by a bunch of bureaucracy and things like that. But our schools are all based on proximity right now. The way the tax funding is, the way
the pushback against that would be, why would you force a kid in a low income area to go to a shitty school because he or she lives in a shitty neighborhood?
Right.
Like it's stupid. So that's what school choice is.
Sure. But there's a lot of people in these poor neighborhoods who can't afford to drive, who can't afford either because afford the time or afford, the money to drive 30 minutes out of that neighborhood to a 30 minutes, 40 minutes, even an hour out of that neighborhood to a nice neighborhood to get their kid to school.
So punish the people who can by forcing their kids to go to that shitty school too?
You're not punishing them. I'm saying
because if you live in Detroit and we all know how shitty Detroit schools are, being as close as we are to it.
There's charter schools there that do okay, but it's just people can get. But if you remove, there's good charter schools in Detroit.
If you remove school choice and you force me to go to a public school in Detroit when I can afford to drive my kid to Royal Oak schools,
I get it.
Or
and then all of a sudden now you're making it, like removing SATs because they were deemed racist. Like I get what you're saying, right? I'm just saying that the way the structure is with proximity, that there should be and I don't have the answer. There's supposed to be people smarter than us that are in charge. A way to alleviate that to where it's not necessarily proximity driven. Because then the schools, it's like a sink or swim for schools when it's and I understand that there is no... and I understand that there is no winners and losers. It's just trade-offs, or there is no solutions. It's just trade-offs. There's got to be a fucking solution. Maybe if a school, okay, let's you're keeping it based on proximity with school choice. If a school, if a majority of a certain percentage of their students, let's say, are outside of the actual district, that school gets extra funding so they can drive a bus to go pick up kids from other neighborhoods.
Corey, breaking news: we have a nomination for Attorney General.
Ooh, who is it?
It is Trump. According to the AP, Trump chooses loyalist Pam Bondi for Attorney General. A pick after Matt Gaetz withdrawals. I'm going to be honest with everybody as we sit here live. I have no fucking clue who this broad is.
Not a fucking clue. I almost said it before that. I was like, he's gonna maybe just pick some off the wall, fucking no name.
So according to this AP piece, President-elect Donald Trump said Thursday he will nominate former Florida Attorney General, so people in Florida might know who she is, Pam Bondi, to lead the Justice Department, turning to a longtime ally after his first choice, Matt Gaetz, withdrew his name from consideration amid scrutiny over sex trafficking allegations. Bondi has been an outspoken defender of Trump. She was one of his lawyers during his first impeachment trial when he was accused but not convicted.
So she's not good at her job.
but not convicted of abusing his power as he tried to condition U.S. military assistance to Ukraine, yada, yada, yada. So, yeah, former Florida AG Pam Bondi, we're going to have to look into her a little bit. I'd be completely honest with you. I don't know anything about her.
If she was his lawyer during the first impeachment, she didn't do a good enough job because, well, I guess she did a mediocre job because the House said he was impeached. The Senate said no. But if it's the AG that fucking DeSantis had, then again, it's just more government overreach and more government enlargement. It's just the right's okay with it this time instead of the left.
So here's what I know about her. She just turned 59 years old. And in typical Trump fashion, especially for her age, she's kind of hot. That's just what Trump does. He just picks hot people to do all of the jobs.
Yeah, if you listen to the Joe Rogan 3 hours, he definitely judges people based on their appearance.
Christy,
those pilots in that plane were just handsome. They could have been movie stars.
Goddamn, Wikipedia's. I didn't mean to click on Wikipedia, but Wikipedia is quick. It's already got her as the presumptive nominee for United States Attorney General. This has to be an older picture of her because she looks like she's my age there.
There's people that like probably could be set around the spectrum that just sit there and wait for this type of news and run and then just immediately go to Wikipedia and just go and then just plop it on there.
Yeah. So there we go. We have
probably
one.
Changed within 5 minutes. Yeah.
I didn't need to speculate. We didn't need to speculate on who the AG pick was going to be. It is this Pamela Jo Bondi from Florida.
Pamela Jo.
Just kind of seems like a milquetoast pick because, and here's why I say that. It's not controversial. There's nobody on Twitter.
But
there's nobody on Twitter right now knowing that that like would actually like want to say something bad about her that has any idea who the fuck she is. There's nobody. Except for maybe some liberal Floridians, but there's like 8 of those left. So because it's a completely red
it could be good, it could be bad because I feel like she's basically another William Barr. Is that what his name was?
Bill Barr. Yeah. Well,
Bill
you
Barr.
don't know. You don't know. You don't know that.
I just remember a lot of news outlets talking about how DeSantis just kept sicking his AG on people. And it sounded like she was just going along with it. So
a loyalist.
Yeah. So her being now put with Trump, it depends on Trump's mood.
Wait a minute.
And that's what's so fucking wild about Trump.
She hasn't been AG of Florida since 2019. So she lost that position after the 2020 election.
Okay.
Or, I'm sorry, the 2018 election.
Wait, is it the one that DeSantis fired?
I don't know. Maybe.
Because then it's interesting. Look that up real quick.
I have no idea.
I'll filibuster. Because if it's the one, because if this is the AG, because I remember it didn't, I'm pretty sure that DeSantis fired an AG like right around the time, and it might have just been a county AG, but I feel like I remember there being a AG being fired by DeSantis, and then him coming out and doing one of his press conferences, and he's like, they weren't working for the state of Florida. You know, he was talking about how like they weren't doing what was good for the people, but they were like some liberal AG or something like that.
And it's not nothing's coming up for if she was fired by DeSantis. So I don't think we're thinking of the same person. Or I don't think you're thinking of the same person. Anyway.
Okay.
There we go. We have our AG pick. She'll probably get confirmed. She seems kind of harmless because nobody knows who the fuck she is. So of course she's harmless.
Oh, it was a prosecutor.
Oh, prosecutor. Gotcha.
State attorney says, oh, wait, no. State attorney.
Corey, how do you feel about the Pentagon failing its 7th straight audit, other than the fact that you and I would be in prison if we did that?
I'm not really surprised.
I don't care. The Pentagon has failed its annual financial audit for the 7th year in a row. This means that the Department of Defense has failed every single audit it has been subjected to. But officials hope to have things under control by the time
when the government said, "Hey,"
rolls around.
When the government said, "Hey, Pentagon, you got those receipts?" They touched their pockets and then pulled out their pockets and then just said, We ain't found shit.
The DOD announced the results on Friday. Each year, teams of independent public accountants audit the department's $4.1 trillion in assets and $4.3 trillion in liabilities, which are then audited by the DOD Office of the Inspector General. Pentagon Comptroller Michael McCord told reporters. In total, the overall DOD audit is comprised of or supported by 28 separate audits of these different components. Of those 28 components, only 9 passed inspection with an, quote, unmodified audit opinion, which the DOD says means, quote, auditors determined the financial statements that were presented fairly in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. One component received a, quote, qualified opinion, meaning auditors concluded that there were misstatements or potentially undetected misstatements that were material but not pervasive in the financial statements. 15 others earned disclaimers, meaning auditors, quote, could not obtain sufficient appropriate evidence to provide a basis for an audit opinion. So there's just shit missing. That's what that reads to me. There's just shit missing. But
they said, hey,
Corey, the Department of Defense hopes to pass next year.
But no, I thought it was by 2030. I thought it was 2030.
Well, yeah, but no, like the Department of Defense did come out and say they hope to pass next year. Like, don't you wish you could just say that? If the IRS just came looking through your finances and you went, sorry, guys, but I really hope to pass next year.
We'll get them next year, guys.
Yeah, it's just like, get the fuck out of here with this shit. It's like, and so you wonder, and this is one of those things where it's like, you wonder why people voted for Donald Trump or consider him an outsider. Whether he is or isn't is completely irrelevant. It's just how he's perceived. I don't expect Donald Trump's administration to fix this shit. I don't. But it's like, who do you think is more likely? Like, what administration do you think would be more likely to put feet to the fire of the Department of Defense? A Kamala Harris administration or a Donald Trump administration? And be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I mean, come on. Whatever. I don't need to pour more bourbon. I'm already ready to pour more bourbon. That's how pissed off I am about the Pentagon failing its 7th straight audit and having no
because they right. And then the Biden administration hired 87,000 people to work for the IRS. And instead of them going after the fucking $7 trillion unaccounted for with the Pentagon, they're going after people who are doing $600 Venmo transactions.
Yeah, they make sure you claimed every one of your fucking gasoline receipts for your job. That's what they're going after. I don't know. It's just like, I don't really have that much to say about this. It's just, I feel like it's something that people should be pissed off about. And something that people should pay attention to. And it's the thing that people don't pay attention to.
We should all be pissed that the budget isn't balanced every single fucking month. Because you know who does have to make sure their budget is balanced every single fucking month? 90% of the American population.
Yeah, and you have to pay back every ounce of debt that you have. And it's like, I'm not the kind of person that's for forgiving student loans, but you kind of understand when people are like
I wish I could sell my debt
for every dime of my student loans, but you can't make sure that the fucking Department of Defense is held accountable for all of their fucking expenditures. So I kind of understand when people are like, yeah, it would be sweet if my student loans were forgiven. I don't think they should be, but I get it. I completely understand why people would say that. You're coming after me, and it's just like, do you think that the that for whatever wasn't accounted for, you think the DOD is going to be penalized for this? No, they just get to say, we'll do better next year. We'll get them next year, guys.
Next time.
Fucking assholes.
Don't get bogged down by all the haters out there.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, George Santos. God, I miss George Santos. You miss George?
Yeah,
I miss him.
What is he up to today? What's his Twitter? What's his Twitter looking like?
I have no clue. He's kind of irrelevant now. I miss him, though. I'm hoping John Fetterman can be the next George Santos
president.
Dude, I actually, honestly, dude, John Fetterman might be my favorite Democrat right now.
Yeah.
Can you think of one that you like more than John Fetterman? Like, he seems like a real guy. He went on Joe Rogan when Kamala Harris wouldn't. I don't agree with him on a lot of shit, but like, if I had to pick a Democrat, like, don't you dare say Bernie Sanders.
He's an independent. You can't.
Dude, he caucuses with the Democrats. He counts as a Democrat.
No, he doesn't. The Democrats don't. If the Democrats don't claim him, the Democrats don't even fucking claim him.
Fuck yourself.
Well, she's not a Democrat anymore. We'll see.
Yeah, she's not even a Democrat anymore. It's got to be John Fetterman.
About me.
It says that you're a fascist. That's what it says.
I thought that fad was going to end with something different. And I was going to say, whoa.
Boy, I hope he's qualified.
These idiots.
It's like if someone goes to says Nigeria.
Oh,
when they start, you're like, oh, okay.
I know what you really meant. Really meant. Is Biden about
I know
to
what
start
you
World
really
War III
meant.
Here, Corey? Is Biden trying to start World War III?
Biden is just trying to remember his grandkids' names, Dan. He is on autopilot, shuffling around the White House, and someone else is calling the shots. And that person is trying to start World War III.
For those who haven't heard yet, if you're living under a mushroom, Biden is now allowing Ukraine to launch missiles into the territory of Russia. Now, this has gotten a lot of rightful backlash from not even just Republicans, but just anti-war people in general. And the thought is that the kind of conspiracy-minded side of the right is looking at this thinking that Biden is trying to leave Trump with World War III. I actually have a bit of a different take on this, because when you think about it from the way, like the mind of a bureaucrat, of a political strategist, of a geopolitical strategist, I think what's going on here is that Ukraine and NATO realize that Trump is going to come in and try to end this war. And to be honest with you, if I think that Trump's going to be successful at anything, I honestly believe he's going to find a way to do so. So what I see this as is sort of a last-ditch bargaining chip for the Ukrainians to utilize in some sort of peace negotiations. Because if they roll in, they're actually conducting an offensive right now in the Kursk region of Russia. So if they can go in and take Kursk when Trump goes in to office, the Ukrainians now have a bargaining chip to give back to the Russians when they are negotiating peace. Maybe I'm being a little too optimistic, but like that kind of seems like a decent strategic strategy for the Ukrainians when you take your emotions out of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, like wars are just a big game of chess, you know? And so
but I look at it as like,
it does make sense. Like ultimately what I see happening, and no one's going to be happy with it, I think Russia will just walk away with Crimea and maybe a little bit of areas around that, the areas that were contested before their invasion. And in return, America will say they're going to leave Ukraine alone, and that NATO won't expand anymore, and Ukraine will not be a part of it.
I think Putin's going to get everything he wanted when this war started. He's going to get the ethnically Russian regions that he invaded to, as he says, liberate. I don't know how true that is, but it does seem like a lot of those sort of eastern Ukrainian regions are more loyal to Russia based on the evidence that I've seen. And so I think Putin's going to get all those regions. And I think in return, he's going to get some sort of treaty from Trump and hopefully NATO saying that Ukraine will not join NATO.
Yeah,
and honestly,
yeah. Whatever Trump says at that point, NATO is going to just follow behind because Trump is willing to just cut funding to NATO in the first place.
I think that's a solid trade-off to end a bullshit war that we're all sick of funding.
Yeah.
I think that's
it. And he'll just take off. But see, here's the thing, though, is then he'll take that extra funding and give it to Israel.
That's true. And then we'll have that discussion when it's relevant. Because we both know Trump's going to be terrible on Israel. He was the first time. His son-in-law is the godson of Bibi Netanyahu. This isn't going to be good. But yeah, take it one thing at a time, Corey. Take one good thing with one bad thing, I guess.
Liberty Twitter said, do you think, waiting for it to pop up, go for it. Do you think the Biden admin checked with Trump first about that? Seriously, it's possible they did, and Trump said okay. So Trump did just start getting security briefings.
Yes, he did.
I think either yesterday or today. But because he said it's normal for an outgoing admin to collaborate on issues like that. And then I say, like, yes, he is getting the briefings, but for them to have some coordinated behind the scenes things like that is you're looking at our government as being competent. And a lot of people like to think that our government is like the show House of Cards, but really it's more like Veep.
It is. It's exactly what it is.
It's a fucking mess. Like, they're all like incompetent. Like, look at the people on either side of the aisle.
Well, have you heard the conspiracy theory that Jill Biden voted for Trump?
No.
Because she hates Kamala so much, and she wore that red dress. I hope Jill Biden did vote for Trump. I hope Joe Biden voted for
Joe
Trump.
Biden voted for Trump.
Yeah, it would just be so good. Yeah, he's
like
pissed.
They were all so pissed at him. They were all so mad at him. They were like, because when he stepped down, they like Pelosi, she came out and she said that they intended to have a primary, and Biden fucking just in his speech was saying he's not running again, just endorsed Kamala.
That's water under the bridge, I guess, at this point. She rightfully got her ass kicked. I guess that's my feelings. I don't think Biden's is leaving. I mean, he could potentially be leaving Trump World War III, but I think I feel like that's Trump. I feel like that's Biden playing like inside baseball, like really good chess. I don't know. I don't see it. I think it's leaving the Ukrainians a bargaining chip for a peace agreement. I think that's all it is. Because, I mean, there's no way Zelensky doesn't see the writing on the wall with a second Trump term. Because and that actually kind of brings us into the topic I want to get into next, which is legitimately what would make for a successful Trump term? Like really, what would make for a successful Trump term? And one of those things is, leaving Israel aside, ending the Ukraine war. Ending the Ukraine war, pulling back on this like nuclear bombing talk, and just ending the Ukraine war. That's one thing. I'll give you my list, Corey, and then you can respond to it. And then if you have anything to add to it, you can. Okay. Ending the Ukraine war is one thing that would make for a successful Trump second term for me. And I'm going to go like inside baseball libertarian here for a second. Pardoning Ross Ulbricht. If you don't know who he is, look him up. Pardoning Ross Ulbricht is number one. It's a promise he made to the libertarians. If he actually does it, I'm going to think that, okay, Trump's got a little bit of good faith going on here. The second thing is pardoning Edward Snowden and Julian Assange. I realize that Julian Assange is free from a plea deal, but he wasn't pardoned.
Right.
So that's number two. Second is, you guys are going to love this one, because I think this would be just an absolute dynamite.
This would be the third thing, actually, right?
I'm sorry, third thing, but they all kind of go together because this is another pardon. Because like day one, this is things you should do day one. Pardon Ross Ulbricht, pardon Edward Snowden and pardon Julian Assange. But also, there's one more pardon I want him to make, because this would be fucking just an awesome chess move. Pardon Hunter Biden.
Oh,
Day one. Pardon Hunter Biden day one. What an unbelievably awesome fuck you to the establishment it would be if Donald Trump day one signed a pardon for all of the charges against Hunter Biden. Almost kind of like a, no harm, no foul. You're all good. I'm president now. I'm not going to run for another term. We're all fine here. Pardon Hunter Biden day one. The next thing would be if Doge, which we got some news on Doge today, and I wrote this note before this, but if Doge actually is something that in a meaningful way shrinks the size and scope of government, not through executive order, not just things that Elon and Vivek cherry pick because they don't like. Okay.
Right.
Because
there's gonna be some fighting in between like the Department of Government Efficiency and like RFK, who's trying to do different things to make the government kind of like expand. If he wants more people.
Well, there's going to be, dude, that's what's so interesting about this administration. There's going to be tons of infighting. Like the fact that Tulsi Gabbard and Marco Rubio essentially have to work together. Like, what is going to happen there? That's going to be brilliant. It's going to be entertainment. Liberty Twitcher says, yes, Doge is the ticket. That'll be the best thing ever. And I hope you're right. I have low expectations. I really do, because I view it as kind of a pet project that Trump is throwing out there. But I am so open to be proving wrong about that. Honestly.
That's my expectation is it's just some sort of pet project for Elon Musk because he gave Trump so much money. Trump had to give him something.
That's the way it seems. But I hope I'm wrong. I really want to be wrong. I have rarely hoped that I was wrong more than I am about that. And the last thing was, actually, I think that might be the last thing I had. The only other thing would be ending the Israeli-Gaza war, but I don't expect that to happen, or if it does, it won't be good for the Palestinians in that instance. But those are kind of the main things. Like I'm actually not expecting that much. Like just an overall shrinking of the size and scope of government and making those pardons on day one. I'll look at, as we approach 2028, I'll go, that was a successful presidency from Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything to add, Corey?
The Ukraine war thing, RFK maybe making our food a little bit healthier. And then there was something else I had that was on the top of my mind when you said something, but I don't remember what it was. So whatever that one was, that also would be
okay. We'll just through osmosis, our listeners will understand what you meant.
Oh, if he actually makes it to where overtime isn't taxed,
and no tax on tips. Actually, no tax on tips.
Pretty cool.
I don't know if you.
Which, if you do cash, they don't get taxed. But like everyone pays with credit card now. That's why I typically try to pay cash for tips.
No, well, legally you're supposed to be taxed, but they don't claim it when it's cash. Cash is king in that regard. But it would be nice. It would be nice. It would be nice to leave somebody a nice tip and just use my credit card to do it, I guess. Because I get cash back on that credit card.
Right.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins.
Anything else? Anything else that would make for a successful Trump presidency for you, Corey? I don't know if you've thought about this too hard at this point, but I spent a little bit of time
the bar's
on
pretty
it.
low. The bar's
It's
pretty
so
low,
low.
right?
It's so low. It's so low. But yeah, do you have any disagreements with any of the things that I mentioned between the pardons and Doge shrinking the size and scope of government and ending the Ukraine war?
If it all works like as in your idealistic way of that being a part of a successful presidency, no.
Perfect. Well, I guess
I don't think it's going to work.
We can move on.
Should we get to some TikTok videos?
Do you want to? Yeah, you want to do that? So this may be, as I said at the beginning of the show, in case you're just now joining us or joined us since I think we're going to try to make this. I'm going to try to make this, and I'm going to fail because I suck at this kind of shit because I always forget what I want to do because my ADHD takes over. A segment until Trump gets actually sworn in, reasons for why people would vote for Donald Trump, because we had that question. We had that question asked all over the place. Please help me understand why anybody could vote for Donald Trump. And me, as somebody who doesn't even like Donald Trump, could probably sit down for 10 minutes and give you a list of 100 reasons, legitimate reasons that have nothing to do with race and nothing to do with gender, for why somebody would vote for Donald Trump. So I guess let this be our first foray into that, as Corey gets a couple of TikTok videos pulled up. By the way, Jon Stewart is going to be one of these TikTok videos. God damn it, this dude might actually be back. You got our first one up for us, Corey? Share it up. Share it up.
Stage right now.
I'm gonna take a leak while.
So for context, this is a guy named what is it, Perlman, like 9,000 or something like that.
I have no fucking clue who this guy is.
And we follow him on Twitter and TikTok because like he was making like pretty good videos, but then like when the election was coming up, it seems like it's almost pretty evident that he was getting money from the Democratic Party, because then he started shilling for Harris. And so when Trump was elected, he made this whole video about say it, we told you so, we told you so, we told you so, this is going to happen, everything, all the bad that's about to happen is because everything that we said was going to happen because you didn't vote for Harris. So this girl, who she's clearly from the left, breaks it down so beautifully as to why fucking Trump got elected.
No, we told you so. We told you that campaigning with Liz Cheney was a bad idea. We told you that continuing to gaslight everybody and take our money to bomb babies in Gaza was a bad political strategy. We told you that continually kicking the Democratic base in the teeth wasn't a really great strategy. We told you that alienating Arab and Muslim American voters wasn't a great strategy. We told you that sending Bill Lolita Express Clinton down to Michigan to lecture Arabs on how actually it's Judea and Samaria, along with Richie Hackpack Torres, probably wasn't a great strategy. We told you that your hack friends laughing at dead Palestinian children at the DNC was probably a mistake. We told you that running to the right on immigration and cozying up to Mark Cuban wasn't a great strategy. We told you that running on Trump bad was not a sufficient strategy. We told you that the genocide in 4K we've been watching and funding for a year was going to be a problem, but you thought that you could just say, oh, well, Trump will bomb them harder and meaner, that was going to be sufficient to excuse the Holocaust the Democrats have overseen. We told you, we told you, we told you. And I'm going to tell you something else right now. This one's for free. Your asses are going to continue to get handed to you. People are leaving the Democratic Party. And I know that the little yelling shtick is your thing, but maybe think about how you could maybe appeal to all the men that have been leaving the Democratic Party in droves. And it wasn't just men. You're losing people across the board. You're losing people from every single demographic. You lost Native American people. How garbage is this party at this point that you guys lost indigenous folks to Trump? Embarrassing. Are you not embarrassed? We told you that throwing every single marginalized community and base supporter that you might have under the fucking bus because you thought you were going to get Republican white women in the suburbs was a stupid strategy. We told you you were losing young people, and Trump got more young people in this election than a Republican has had in decades. We told you that the Democratic Party always just being like, well, we're just going to do some technocratic tweaks and, we're not going to do anything about housing, but we'll give you a grant. Not fighting for the child tax credit, not raising the minimum wage was going to come back to haunt them, because I don't give a fuck how well the economy metrics are doing for the rich and corporations. Poor people ain't feeling it, but you guys wouldn't know anything about that because the party doesn't represent workers, doesn't represent the poor, and doesn't represent the average voter. You guys are so embarrassingly out of touch that you can't even see past your own ass as to why people don't want to vote for Democrats anymore. You guys are losers. Losers. You need to go back to the drawing board and redo the whole thing. But you won't, because as we told you, you're not going to change because a leopard doesn't change its stripes or whatever the fuck the saying is. Democrats are fucking snobs that think they're better than you. And his answer, instead of any kind of self-reflection, just like the rest of them, rather than being like, people really don't like us. What can we do differently? It turns out bragging about how you have a Glock and you love fracking isn't really popular amongst the left and progressives. Turns out people don't really like when you say you're going to do nothing different than a historically unpopular president you served with. They don't really want to hear about how you're besties with the Cheneys and you're going to put a Republican in your cabinet. But rather than engaging in any type of postmortem or, maybe we should self-reflect and think about why we lost so many demographics in this election, is to turn around and go, we told you. It's just more scolding, not taking accountability, and more cowbell. The entitlement, though. This party is a party of snobby, entitled fucking losers, and they deserve to fucking lose every single election going forward until that party is burned to the ground like the Whigs and redone.
That's one of those no lies detected, and you can clearly tell that she is, as you said, Corey, of the left. And it's like, yeah, listen to the people, like listen to your own goddamn people, and they won't. And she's right. They won't. Now, I will say this. It is amazing how quickly political sort of strongholds change, because this isn't the first time that the Democratic Party has been down like at a major rate. I mean, you look at Ronald Reagan in 1984, winning every state but Minnesota. Nixon had a huge, I can't remember how many electoral votes he won, but I think he won everybody but Massachusetts in his second election. So like the Democrats have been down and out before. Will this be another one of those times where they find a way to pick themselves up off the mat? It's hard to see now. Honestly, dude, it's hard to see now. We're talking about the party here right now.
We're talking about the party that survived seceding from the United States of America.
It's amazing. They really do find a way to survive. Well, and they're at this spot now because this was the whole thing. They thought they were going to survive on the kind of this Obama coalition forever. It's the same mistake Hillary Clinton made in 2016 when she didn't even bother to campaign in Michigan or Wisconsin, and she lost them fucking both. And you saw the same thing in 2024. Like this guys, the Obama coalition was awesome in 2008. It honestly started to diminish a little bit in 2012. You were just lucky that the Republicans put up shit Romney to run against him, because that was at a point where the Republicans were kind of at this loss of like, what the fuck do we do now? And like the Obama coalition is dead. It's gone. That's right. You have to start over. The Obama coalition is done.
The Trump administration did to the Obama coalition what the Reagan administration did to the New Deal coalition. And it was all predicated on the same type of shit. Like the Democrats were pumping all of this money into this Vietnam War, into bullshit wars, overextending themselves. And then the flip of the coin was Reagan with rugged individualism.
Yeah, it makes sense too, right?
And then the response to that from the Democrats was neoliberalism.
Just to add to that, and then you can continue, is like you kind of had that like that one Jimmy Carter election where he kind of slid in there, and it was only because, say what you want, whether you want to go with the the sort of Tucker Carlson conspiracy side or you want to go with the narrative side. It was because of what happened to Richard Nixon.
Yeah.
That's the only reason Jimmy Carter got elected, or they may have gotten smashed again in 1976.
Right.
So there is a legitimate scenario where if Nixon doesn't get busted, however you feel about him, if Watergate doesn't happen, there is a legitimate scenario where Republicans control the White House for 20 years in a row. I mean, just speaking to your point, because that was the end of this. That was the end of the sort of what did you say, the New Deal coalition?
Damn near 50 years later, Biden slips in as a one-term president and jacks up inflation because the guy before him was a very controversial figure. And
then you also had the issue of COVID that was thrown in there, which, however much of a conspiracy theory person you are, I don't judge anybody. I don't really fucking care, because as we see all over and over again, that certain conspiracies are at least partially true.
Yeah. And my message to conspiracy theorists is stop taking a breadcrumb of truth and going wild with it. Like the breadcrumb of truth enough is pretty insane.
Yeah, it's okay to just say that, like, the federal government used a quote unquote pandemic to have the greatest upward transfer of wealth, that the world has ever seen, but also try to grab power from you,
expand a bunch of power. Yeah. Yeah,
there's
videos. There's still videos on the internet of cops chasing surfers on the beach by themselves. Like,
unbelievable.
Wait, what? Looking back, it's like, wait, what? And then people will be like, yeah, but that's like, why are you still talking about this? This was 4 years ago.
Because oh my God, it's so important. It's so important.
It's so important because you have to look back. Like, I judge a lot of our politicians based on their instinctual behavior. And then if their instinctual behavior is to immediately go to war and throw more money or weapons at it, that's immediately just a no vote for me. If it's an immediate instinction of expanding the government, that's a no vote for me. And if it's an immediate instinction to restrict your rights, it's a no vote for me. Like,
and can I just say, just to kind of throw JD Vance into the mix, because as we sit here now, obviously, dude, things change so fast in politics. But as we sit here right now on November 21st, 2024, JD Vance does appear to be the heir apparent to Donald Trump for the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Can I just say this? Because you can probably go back, and this is one of the things that I hope people like about our show. You can probably go back 7 or 8 episodes, and you're going to hear me say, JD Vance has proven that he's not ready for this moment. Do you remember me saying that?
Yeah.
Do you remember me saying that? I said that, and I own those words, because that's the way I felt at the time. He goes on Joe Rogan and humanizes himself, and it's where you're not just hearing his sort of campaign speeches. Because at the end of the day,
he was relatable.
Because at the end of the day, he is still a politician. But this is what I hope people get from our show, is that, like, because I'm saying something today doesn't mean that new information or new statements or whatever aren't going to come out tomorrow that are going to make me completely change my opinion on something. I kind of like JD Vance. Unapologetically, I kind of like JD Vance. He clearly actually was ready for this moment. I was wrong. You want to talk about something that, like, even Mika Brzezinski
it's funny because
Joe Scarborough and Joe Scarborough aren't going to say, even though they bent the knee and went to Mar-a-Lago because they realized that they're in deep fucking shit for all of the shit that they've been saying for the last 4 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's insane this time how the media is just like, basically they're throwing in the towel. They're like, all right, we'll stop attacking you. The View's talking about bringing on a more Trumpian, like a person who supports Trump on the show. All these different news outlets are talking about bringing in more conservative writers. Like, it's bizarro. It's bizarro, Dan Griffin. It is. It's pretty wild. I got another TikTok for you because here you go. Here's a TikTok for you that literally.
This is great. This is Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart.
Oh no, I wasn't gonna play that one yet. I'll play the Jon
you weren't
Stewart
gonna play
one
that
after.
One yet. All right, that's fair. Let's get to it. Which one you got for us? I don't think I've seen this one yet.
More human remains.
Not this one.
Bombing in Philadelphia have been found at Penn Museum.
That's a fucked up one, but that's for a different day.
What the fuck were you trying to play?
1 second, my computer's being slow.
Remember how you spent like the last 2 years telling us that Trump is an existential threat to democracy and our rights and pretty much everything, right? Okay, so like now that he won, and you guys are the party in power, like Biden has presidential immunity. What are you gonna do to stop him? To save democracy? That's funny. We did say that, right? Yeah. Well, nothing. We're not gonna do anything. We're just gonna business as usual. I'm sorry, what? Business as usual? Like I said, you guys got immunity. You could do like anything, and you got all these court cases and the DOJ stuff. Like, why don't you speed that up? Yeah, we're actually gonna wind those down and just like fuck them, right? It's a funny thing that happened, and you threw it at the wall, it didn't stick, and now we move on. I think everything will be fine.
This girl can't be older than like 20.
I know.
You've seen the appointees, right? Don't you want to pass anything that offers kind of protections to literally anything? Don't you want to do literally anything to quell the fear that the people had, the people who voted for you? I mean, it sounds like a really fun idea, but no. I genuinely think we'll be okay. I think you're over-exaggerating. Your whole thing is that he's scary and a threat to us. What the fuck are you talking about? So, are you basically admitting that you fear-mongered, or do you just not care and you actually side with some of these things? What's the deal here? Yeah, no, that is a point you're making. And, I mean, again, I think it'll be fine. And if it's not fine, you could just vote for us in 4 years. That's the beauty of it all. This is why everyone fucking...
But this was the last election. I thought this was the last election.
Hey, remember how you spent like the...
No, that's what it's about. Like, it's she's literally like, she's basically like talking about the Joe Scarboroughs and all that now. All of a sudden, just bending the knee and just being like, "Well, oh shucks, we didn't get him this time." And everyone's, "Well, wait, you just told us it was really Hitler getting fucking elected."
Dude, it's
and
so
now
funny.
It's just fine. Now Joe Scarborough and Homegirl are
honestly,
hanging out with Trump.
I feel like we should put this
because it's all
entire
fucking
episode,
sham.
Well, we should put this entire episode in the hopper, because it's like, what's going to happen in 2028? Are the Democrats really going to come out and say, let's just say it's JD Vance. Maybe it'll be somebody else by then, but let's just say it's JD Vance that's running for president for the Republicans in 2028. Is it going to be he's a threat to democracy?
Eyeliner guy. Couch fucker bad. Couch fucker bad.
Yeah. Is that going to be the strategy?
He's weird.
You would hope he is weird, but then he just
He's
then
weird.
Then he kind of showed that he really kind of isn't that weird.
No, he's not. That was just like more propaganda from the left.
I know, dude. But if we didn't have these people, Corey, we wouldn't have a show.
I know Trump did just make. Trump did just. I don't know. He made our life a lot easier.
Well, that's what's so great about it. Who did? Okay, I wish I could give credit to whoever said this. We lost Corey for a moment, but I wish I could give credit to whoever said this, because there was a comedian on one of the podcasts that was talking about how we have no clue where anything is going. Oh, Corey's back. Now I'm gonna have to read. I'm too drunk to even. Corey, are you back? We got him back.
I don't know what the fuck happened. It just.
I'm glad you saved me, because I had a drunk moment where I'm glad you came back, because I had a drunk moment where I was talking to the people and I forgot what the fuck I was talking about. So you came back at the exact right time.
Oh, whew.
Save me.
All right, I got another.
You got another TikTok for us.
I got another TikTok for you. Now I have to reshare my screen,
and I forgot where I was going with this, and it wasn't Tony Hinchcliffe. Dude. By the way, Tony Hinchcliffe got his ass saved by Trump winning the election.
And my
his fault if he had lost. Is this a Jon Stewart one now? Like for real? Jon Stewart might be back, ladies and gentlemen. Mostly gentlemen. No women listen to our show. Who am I kidding?
Yeah, sorry.
You got it.
Sorry, women.
There we go. Come on, John. Show us good Jon Stewart.
Resistance to Trump's agenda don't seem to understand who they're dealing with.
Senator Elizabeth Warren accusing President-elect Donald Trump's transition team of breaking the law, as there are reports it missed a deadline to file a required ethics pledge.
Hear ye, Hitler missed a reporting deadline. The war is over. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Republicans are playing chess and the Democrats are in the nurse's office because they glued their balls to their thigh. That is what is happening. The election that we just had was a repudiation of the status quo, an overly regulated system that is no longer responsive or delivering for the needs of the people or their beloved beheaded squirrels. Oh, R.I.P. Peanut.
That's a fucked up story.
We all miss Peanut.
It's theoretically a constitutional system of checks and balances between equally powerful branches. But what government actually is an overly complicated Byzantine bureaucratic maze of rules, loopholes to those rules, and norms. Complex enough that A, if you want to find a rule that keeps you from doing something, you'll find it. And B, if you actually want to do something, you can find a loophole to get around said rule. And then the norms are just how often you've had to pull any of this shit. For example, Trump's, let's be generous, provocative, and unorthodox cabinet picks. I don't think Hulk Hogan's been nominated yet. I think he's going to be the secretary of Take Your Vitamins.
That's a shitty Hulk impersonation.
Positive.
Not his best joke.
Constitutional rules of the Senate shall be the guardrail to this madness.
Certainly we can fight back.
The president nominates, the Senate confirms.
We're a check and balance. We're there to be a guardrail.
The Senate has a constitutional obligation to advise and consent on this nomination.
Oh, shit. You want Matt Gaetz, Mr. President? Prepare to be advice and consented, biatch. There is no way.
That's a little dated now.
To allow you to get past it.
The Constitution does give the president power to adjourn the House and Senate on extraordinary occasions.
To unilaterally install his most controversial nominees and bypass the Senate confirmation process entirely.
That is our government in a nutshell. The rules say we can stop it. The loophole says that. And so what are you left with? The last refuge of losers, the norms.
I don't think that's appropriate, and I don't think that's what the founders intended.
That is not the custom.
Yeah, you can do it, and it's legal by whatever guy. We're going to think you're dead. Republicans exploit the loopholes. Democrats complain about the norms over and over and over, and it has ghastly consequences. Remember when President Obama nominated Merrick Garland to the Supreme Court? Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell refused to give that a vote, saying, well, it's only one full year before the election. It's too close. Now, you could make a case that Obama could violate the norm, say the Senate failed their advice and consent, and appoint him anyway, and see whatever the happens. Fight. But they just went, well, we never heard of that rule, but okay. Smash cut 2 months before a presidential election. Trump nominates Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court after the completely unforeseeable death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And as you can imagine, The Democrats went right to the nearby Kinkos.
Behind me is the McConnell rule. On February 13th, 2016, when
Yeah, dude, the Kinkos in DC probably make so much money.
Quote, this vacancy should
I
not
bet.
be filled until we have a new president.
So Amy Coney Barrett was forced to head back to her homestead, never to be heard from. Oh, they didn't give a. Oh, oh, right, I forgot. They didn't give. Look, let this show be the utterly ineffective hypocrisy finders. I can tell you from experience, it does nothing. You guys be the
That's
loophole guys. That
Yeah,
figure
that's
out
us.
how to get shit done because they don't give a about your norms. They will exploit any loophole, even if they have to go through clearly closed windows to do it. You would think after Trump's presidency, Democrats would have learned, but they doubled down. When Biden tried to get immigration reform into the Inflation Reduction Act and the Senate parliamentarian told him he couldn't, did he respond to the rule with a loophole or did he?
That's for the parliamentarian to decide, though. Not for Joe Biden to decide.
No! That's for, you take the parliamentarian and you put them in a locker and then you bring Grimace in and have him. That's what you do! Do you guys get what I'm saying? Perhaps a demonstration is in order. To get anything done, the Democrats feel like they must thread the needle to make sure, oh, we have to make sure each norm follows the overly complex bureaucratic process that we created ourselves. Oh, the parliamentarian, oh, I can't do it because the norm says, oh, I can't get anything done. Meanwhile, the Republicans come in and all they have to do is finger bang a donut. That's all they have to do. Oh, how are we going to get Matt Gaetz in if the advice and consent? Oh, there it is right there. Boom, boom. Harry's in there. Harry's in. Even those putting up resistance.
A little bit dated because obviously Matt Gaetz is out now, but point still taken. Point still taken. Good Jon Stewart is back. I hope he stays. Hope he sticks around for a while.
I hope so. Yeah, and like that's just the thing,
I'm drunk
right?
and
It's
tired.
like, yeah, I'm drunk and tired too. Probably gonna end this show pretty quick here. But it's like we're not even necessarily saying that we agree with the entire platform of the Democratic Party, but they just don't fucking get it. And then they sit there and they blame, like, let's say like Michigan has a shitty season this year, right? Michigan football, Michigan Wolverines, RIP this season.
Yeah, they're terrible.
Imagine if they were blaming the fans of the game because they're not doing good. That's what the Democrats are
cheering
doing.
loud enough.
Yeah, that's what the Democrats are
it's like
doing.
a football. It's like a football coach in a post game press conference going, "We lost because the fans they didn't."
It's a mix of that and them going, "Well, I guess we can't try to elect a woman," which is also like fucked up. Like, I guess we're gonna give up on women, and then you're hearing these stories.
Which would honestly, Corey, honestly, that would be like the 1990s Rush Limbaugh equivalent of like, well, we lose every time we have a black coach. I guess we can't have a black football coach because black football coaches just don't do as well.
Right. Exactly.
I think that's the same kind of thing.
Exactly.
Even though just in a football context, Corey, I don't expect you to know the answer to this question. Do you know who the longest tenured football coach in the NFL is right now?
Actually, is it the coach to the Texans?
Nope.
Then was it the coach to? Go ahead.
Trying to fool you. No, it's Mike Tomlin, the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, black coach.
Okay, because the Texans coach is black too, right?
Has never. Well, yeah, he is D'Amico Ryans, but he hasn't been there that long. But yeah, Mike Tomlin, the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, he's been there since 2006, 2007. Longest tenured coach in the NFL. Black coach. That's like saying we can't hire a black coach.
Right. Exactly. And and it's like, no, there's been a few women now, or at least one that was in the Democratic Party that was running that would have been like a huge success for sure. And it would have gotten a bunch of like what they would call Reagan Democrats. They would have called them like Tulsi Republicans to come over to the other side, but they shunned her. They literally ostracized her to the point that she joined the other side.
Yeah, I mean,
Bernie
isn't there
somporters
something to be said
voted for Trump.
But
You know what I
isn't there
mean? Like,
also isn't there also something to be said for like the fact that you can't critique a female candidate? It's not the fact that she's female or that she's black or that she's anything else.
if she loses,
She's
it's because she's a
just
female.
Oh, sure, or black, or whatever your immutable characteristic is that you put the blame on, which is almost equally as racist, to be honest. It's just like, just don't run. Like I'm losing my mic. It's just I got to get a new mic stand. It's just falling down on me. It's just like, you just stop running a shitty candidate, because but that's the thing, dude. They can look at it and be like, well, Biden got elected in 2020. A Democrat got elected in 2020 that was a man, so it must be the fact that we just can't run women.
Nope, he promised to be the norm. Yeah, he ran a successful campaign on Orange Man Bad, and he botched it.
Yeah. So blame Joe Biden for the fact that Democrats can't run a woman. Quote unquote, can't run a woman. They can absolutely run a woman.
I know, it's
can
fucking
absolutely
ridiculous.
run a woman.
It's so
can
fucking
stupid. And
Again,
by the way,
it's
so can
sexist as
Republicans.
shit. It's
Although,
sexist. Like, it's just like this weird pat on the head to half the population now and go, all right, well, maybe later. You girls can't do it. Go ahead.
Well, dude, it's
sit down.
Corey. It's that negative side of feminism, right? Because I've said this multiple times, maybe not so many times on the show, but definitely to you, is like there's like a really good side of feminism, and then there's like a really toxic side of feminism, and it's the toxic side of feminism that like causes this nonsense. It's like, well, every time we run a woman, she loses. Yeah, because you picked a shitty candidate, and you sit there and you act like, you want women to be treated the same as men. Well, okay, that's exactly what we're doing. We're telling you that you ran a shitty candidate and we're not going to vote for her just because she's a woman. As a feminist, do you want us to vote for her just because she's a woman? Because that doesn't seem very feminist to me.
Right.
Am I a fucking misogynist for saying that? Or is it more feminist to say, yeah, we're treating her just like if she were a man. She sucks. She's a shitty fucking candidate.
No, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Right, because it's just like, what am I, a man hater because I didn't vote for Trump or Biden? Or, or I didn't vote for Trump the second time? Do I hate men now all of a sudden because I didn't vote for the man? Like, I don't know. That's fucking weird.
That's the shitty side of feminism. It's the women that use, not just women, because there's fucking quote unquote allies. I hope she sees this, bro. It's this idea that you use feminism when it's convenient. You use feminism when you lose. You use feminism when you don't get what you want. I voted for a woman, dude. I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. I will openly tell everybody that. So don't fucking tell me that I'm a misogynist and that I didn't vote for Kamala Harris because she's a woman. I voted for a woman in 2016. Right. I mean, to be honest, I held my nose and did it.
I bet you it's going to be Republicans that have the first woman president.
It's looking like that might be the case. It's not going to be in 2028, though. I think, well, then again, as I said, we have no idea. Politics change.
It'll probably in 2028, depending on how this presidential cycle goes. 2028 will probably J.D. Vance Tulsi. And then 2032 will be Tulsi. Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see. She'll be too old, but she won't be hot anymore.
Nah, she'll probably still look good.
I'm just kidding. Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
She's an attractive lady.
Should I tell the people where they can find us?
Yeah, because I got to go.
Yeah, me too. I got to wake up at 4:30. The Absurdive Podcast is found on all social media podcast platforms. Our website is libsurdiveshow.com. We can be found at Libsurdив on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter at LibsurdivPod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libsertive Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libsertivepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today. And if you like the show, tell a friend.
If you're a fan of... If you like this episode,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Share it with a friend. No, if you interrupted me multiple times.
You interrupted
at the beginning
me
of this podcast.
You're keeping track.
No, you're a jerk.
What, you got tallies over there?
Yeah, I got it written down.
You got a whiteboard?
I got it written down. If you like the episode, share it with a friend. And if you love bigotry, because apparently, we're bigots, share it with your misogynist friends. We'll all have fun together.
Because we didn't vote for a woman.
Do I have to say that's a joke? I probably do. Make comedy great again. Anyway, for Corey Walsh, I've been Dan Griffin. That's not how this goes. He's been Corey Walsh.
And he's Bizarro Dan Griffin.
Yeah, it's been a rough night. I have had way too much bourbon.
This
has been Libservative. And until next time.
The show was great. We just ran out of gas real quick. Peace.
Until next time, we are out of here. God,